Meanwhile, the international community has pledged to improve its response to the global refugee and migration crisis, though some question whether the plan goes far enough. VOA's Margaret Besheer reports from the United Nations, where world leaders met at a summit on Monday on the sidelines of the annual General Assembly.
An unprecedented 65 million people are displaced across the world. Syrian Mohammed Badran is one of them. He has resettled in the Netherlands and said he has seen firsthand Europe's struggle to cope with the influx of people.
There is intense public fear about refugees. As young refugees, we face this anger and fear every day. Doors are closed to us. Higher education is denied to us. We are often dismissed, not taken seriously, and underestimated.
Member states agreed to increase support to countries most affected by the crisis and boost humanitarian funding and the resettlement of refugees. But a plan to ask governments to resettle 10% of the world's refugees each year was dropped.
Refugees and migrants are not to be seen a burden. They offer great potential if only we unlock it.
The International Organization for Migration, which has 10,000 staffers working across 5 continents, officially joined the UN family Monday.
So for the very first time in 71 years, the United Nations now has a UN migration agency.
The UN has also launched a campaign against discrimination and xenophobia relating to refugees and migrants, as countries close their borders to the growing human exodus. The human rights chief blasted leaders who oppose greater responsibility sharing and promote divisions over refugees and migrants.
Some of them may well be in this hall this morning. If you are here, we say to you, we will continue to name you publicly. You may soon walk away from this hall, but not from the broader judgment of we the people, all the world's people, not from us.
His remarks resonated throughout the hall.
Now, for more on the UN General Assembly, VOA's Margaret Besheer joins me live from the United Nations in New York. Hello, Margaret.
Hi, Vincent.
Now, we know that President Obama, if we go back to the beginning, spoke about a great number of the things you've just mentioned in your package. What more can you tell us, and how significant was this as his last speech at the UNGA?
So the president spoke for about 45 minutes today, very long speech. In fact, I'll tell you, he arrived late, and the president of the General Assembly skipped over him. Usually, the president of the United States, as the host country, speaks second in the lineup of nations, and he was not in time for his speaking slot, so the president skipped over him, and Idris Deby of Chad took his place. So I thought that was pretty amusing, actually. But President Obama spoke very much about multilateralism, about how important it is, about how we all need to cooperate in the world together to make it a better place. And I think that sort of takes us back to 2009, to his first speech, where he talked about how the United States wanted to re-engage with the world after a long absence from multilateralism during his predecessor's administration. So he said that you can choose cooperation and integration or retreat into a divided world. And he said we should go forward and not go backward. And I think that's part of the legacy he wants to leave here. And he talked about some progress on things such as climate change, the big international agreement that was signed in December in Paris. He talked about limiting nuclear weapons, such as the success with the Iran nuclear deal. He talked about reducing extreme poverty around the world, which he said has gone from 40% to around 10% of people. So he was definitely laying out his legacy.
Mm-hmm. And we know that the other very significant personality in New York is, of course, the UN General Secretary Ban Ki-moon. I hear he had some really strong words for some countries.
Oh boy, it was Ban Ki-moon's last General Assembly speech. Also, he's been head of this organization for 10 years, and I think he was mad at a few people, and he's been saving it up for a while. So he let them have it today. Primarily Bashar al-Assad in Syria, and where yesterday a UN and Red Cross convoy was bombed. 18 out of 31 trucks were damaged. He said that the depravity has reached new lows in Syria. He said the future of that country shouldn't rest on the fate of a single man, referring to Mr. Assad, and saying a political transition is long overdue. He also had some words for African leaders. He said in South Sudan, the leaders have also betrayed their people. And he said in too many places, we see leaders rewriting constitutions, manipulating elections, and taking other desperate steps to cling to power. So I think, we saw yesterday in DRC the problems ahead of the elections there. And he said that his message is clear to leaders: serve your people, do not subvert democracy, do not pilfer your country's resources, and do not imprison and torture your critics. So he had a lot of strong words today in his final speech to member states.
In about 10 seconds, what more can we expect?
Today, President Obama is hosting a big refugee summit, follows on yesterday's. Countries must come with pledges in order to be at the table, so we'll see what they get out of that.
Margaret, thank you very much, as always. That's Voice of America's Margaret Besheer reporting live from the United Nations in New York.